This episode of Fuel the Fire TV podcast is brought to you in part by Kickaboo Meat Seasoning. Go to kickabooshops.com and enter the promo code FTFTV for 10% off all products and seasonings.
All right, folks, welcome to Fuel the Fire TV podcast. I'm here with Cody Leeson, a fellow Islander from Manitoulin Island, and he's also a nutritionist with Nojimo Wintech. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Cody's been up to. Jess is on the production panel, and he's going to chime in as needed. I'm actually pretty excited to see you, Cody. It's been a while since we had a chance to talk. The last time we actually spent any time together, we were filming for one of the episodes for Fuel the Fire TV.
I forgot to bring you some venison stock, and it's sitting in my freezer.
No way.
If I don't see you and I see Diane first, I'll bring it to her.
Okay, perfect. Because what we did is we made some venison stock from a deer that we were able to harvest. Tell me what we did. You know what we did. I just kind of videoed it all.
We made a beautiful video. If you can't see, it's sarcasm. But we were fortunate enough to be loaned the upstairs of Orr's Value Mart, where we filmed the making of venison stock from a deer that you harvested. We took the bones. We made sure there wasn't any extra blood on them. Cleaned them off. Roasted them. Took some nice vegetables and some herbs that the deer would encounter, and made a nice stock with that. And it's sitting in my freezer, all gelatinous and delicious.
Right now, these bones, we were supposed to do this a while back, so they were sitting in my freezer for a while, but that doesn't matter. That's actually that's okay to have that. I think they were in there for, I don't know, 2 months.
Yeah, they're in my freezer for another 2 months after that. But they got used.
They did get used, and that's important. And that's one of the things that we talk about in the show all the time, right? Is trying to maximize the game that we take. And, I don't really... It's only been lately that I've put more and more thought into maximizing the game that we harvest, to the point beyond just having dinner. And case in point, I took a group out. I think he was a surgeon, or I think he was a neurosurgeon actually, from the Waterloo area, and we went fishing in Manitoulin Bay this summer. And he and his wife they just had a little kid, and he was an Asian dude, and he wanted to keep everything from the salmon. And so not only everything but the tail, basically. And he was saying the head is actually the best, is a delicacy.
Yeah, my grandmother's the same way.
Really?
My grandma, when I bring her fish, when she asks me to bring her fish, she's like, "Bring me the whole thing." I'm like, "Oh, I'll clean it for you." She's like, "Well, bring the head too." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, because you're gonna waste it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then he texted me as they were preparing it, and he said the main part of the backbone, right? He said in the morning that they had that for breakfast.
Yep.
They made a soup stock, which they had for lunch. They hadn't even gotten to the actual what we eat, right? Which is, the fillets. But then he was keeping the head for someone else, because that was the delicacy of the whole bit. So that part is really interesting to me, especially when we're harvesting like we do harvest.
Yeah, I think that as a Western culture, we kind of devalued a lot of like the parts of the animals that we harvest as being like unwanted or lesser, when there's still plenty of great tasting meat or anything on those, like offals making a big comeback in restaurants. So liver, tripe, any organ meats, tongue, things like that. And I mean, realistically, if you can cook those well, they taste just as good, if not better, than some of the other cuts.
Right. And Jess got me a Christmas present this year, and it's the book from Steve Ranella, the meat eater, the Fish and Game Cookbook. Thanks for that, Jess. Appreciate it. Why did you buy me that book?
Because your cooking sucks.
He needs more lessons with me, maybe.
Yeah, well, okay. I'll take that with a grain of salt, maybe.
Maybe you need more salt.
Well, you know what? And there's a reason though, and I'll digress a little bit. We've been spoiled, and my mother-in-law Dorothy has moved from town. She moved from Little Current and moved right next door. If I had my way, she'd actually move right in the house, but she can only take so much of me, so she moved next door, and she's taken over the cooking role in our household. And like, we get out of the vehicle at the end of the day, and we can smell supper.
See, I'm not gonna link my mom to this podcast, but like, we can't be in the same kitchen at all because we fight, because I'm a know-it-all and she just refuses to do any of the things that I suggest. And she's been cooking for longer than me, and she thinks she knows better. And I'm horrible. I'm like, feel like I'm Gordon Ramsay to my mom in the kitchen. But
it's a clash of clans, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right.
But she doesn't take any of my advice, so I try not to eat her food as often as maybe you eat your mother-in-law's food.
I mean, it's every day. Today we had I pulled in, and there were two different soups. One was a tetrazzini noodles. I don't even know, and then one was a chicken noodle homemade soup. If my kids don't even know, when we bought a Campbell's soup can, and both of my daughters were confused as to what is that. Right? I said, it's soup, and they're like, soup comes in a can? I'm like, well, not everybody cooks like grandma.
Yeah.
Right. Which is to me, that's awesome. If your kids can, I mean, that to me was music to my ears.
When I was in school, I lived down the road from both of my grandparents in public school. They lived across the road from each other. So I would go there for lunch, and we always got like soup, or more often than not, it was fries and gravy because I loved it, or bacon sandwiches.
Well, who doesn't love bacon?
Yeah, exactly. And grandma's not going to say no, right?
No.
So I'm eating terrible food when I'm a kid, but it was delicious. It was the best. But I always got like homemade bread and everything like that.
Right.
Never ate box stuff.
Perfect. Now, you work for Noj Wintec. I mentioned that already. What's going on at Noj? What are you doing new and exciting over there?
Well, our Indigenous Food Sovereignty Coordinator is on maternity leave right now. So she's going to have another boy.
Who's that?
Courtney
Currick.
Yep. And so right now we're in the middle of our ice fishing sessions. So we had a group from Shishiguan go out to Lake Woolsey last Friday. We were not really roughing it. We had the 7 to 9 person Eskimo insulated tent with the big buddy in it, nice and warm. Like, had our gas auger out there, so we didn't have to do too much work.
Now, were there kids out there?
Yeah,
like, who's the clientele there? Yeah,
so it was kids and adults. It was open to everybody. We had one of the grandfathers. Actually, we had like 3 generations out there.
Awesome.
So it's good. Showing me some techniques using like full-size rods upside down with the drop shot rig for perch, and he caught like a 12 or 13 inch perch on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm not even gonna question anything that you do anymore.
Right.
But we pulled up not too many keepers. We got 3 or 4, but we got lots of fish that day anyway, and everybody had fun. So that was fun.
Now, I had my girls out yesterday pre Super Bowl.
Yeah, I saw the perch that you got.
Now, Mindamoya is an amazing fishery. I don't know how it sustains itself.
I don't either.
Like it does. I think there's this underground secret passage that just keeps loading fish back into the queue. Yeah,
and big ones.
And they're big. I mean, I showed some of the people our biggest perch. Darcy caught it. This was a couple years ago. It was 15 inches, and it was
walleye size.
1 pound 15 ounces.
That's wild.
Right, and this weekend we got 20 tons of small ones, tons of the 6-7 inches, but those good eaters that are about 9-10 inches. I love keeping those fish for the reason that they're great eaters. Yep. But yesterday, I downloaded a new way to clean perch.
Can you explain it?
I can totally explain it, and you're gonna see it on YouTube as well. You can go to the YouTube channel because I'm gonna link it to the guy that does it way better than me.
I'm always looking for like new ways to clean fish.
Now, okay, the way to do this is it's a cool way to do it, and you basically need two knives. I actually use 3. Now that seems like a stretch for.
Okay. You're losing me already.
Okay, but hear me out. And the way to do it, you don't need to use the third knife. I just have one there, but you need a serrated knife.
Okay.
And the first thing you do is you take the head off, right? And you use a the 4 to 6 inch fillet knife, and you slide the knife down the backbone, and you just pull. You basically do this and pull that around, so you're right close to the backbone, down and through. You flip that over, and then while the fish is got the fillet open on this side, right?
Yeah.
It's butterfly-ish.
Yeah.
You slide the knife, and you can see the blade go right next to that backbone underneath, and then you flip it over and you pull it back this way, and there's almost zero waste. You know, you flip it over and you're doing it real quick.
Yeah.
On the second fillet, you kind of
miss that backbone.
You miss the backbone or whatever, right? This way, you never do it. And on a 9-inch perch, there's zero waste. You're getting more meat on that fish than I was getting off of an 11-inch. Yeah. It's a neat way to do it. I'm gonna try and perfect that. But like I said, it'll be on the Instagram and YouTube.
I'll check it out, try it out.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for more efficient ways.
Well, and walleye's the same thing. I love watching guys, really good fish cleaners.
Yeah, I never clean my fish fast. Like, I'm always taking my time, like making my cuts nice, and especially with walleye, like I like the nice barrels so you can make fish tacos and stuff.
Right.
So I'm always making like as even of cut as I can, even if it takes me
longer,
10-15 minutes.
And you know what? And if you're only catching one, but
exactly.
When we're catching like 30,
for sure,
right?
You don't want to be
for the perch. You don't want to take all day to do that,
absolutely.
Especially with that sore back, and it's like 11 o'clock, and you're just.
I had such a rough day catching so many perch. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's Lake Vindemoya.
Yeah,
great fishery there, and something that's always good is taking the kids out. We're having a big fish fry tomorrow night. My mother-in-law and my dad, they love eating fish. I was up north in Dubreuilville. We were up there for a funeral for Eddie Lefrancois, and big inspiration to me, and paid our respects. And then the guys took us out fishing, and man, you want to see walleye on Lake Oba. We didn't even get to the second lake. We went right back there the next day, and phenomenal fishery. We got over 65 walleye in 2 days.
That is insane.
In 4 feet of water.
What? They're just like throwing bear hooks down, biting anything?
Well, you know what we were fishing on? We were fishing on monster sucker bait. Like
really?
Monster sucker minnows. There's the slot size, you're allowed 1 over, 18-1, and 3 unders. And there were 6 of us. So we kept our first overs. They were maybe 19. Our first ones were 19, 20. And then we were catching 23s, 24s. We did keep one. The second day that we caught was probably 26 inches. Yeah. A good 6.5 pounder. But even those 11, 12-inch walleye were smashing suckers crazy. That were like 2/3 their size.
That big, yeah. I was gonna say. Like,
yeah. And
3.5-inch mouth, all
on tip ups and all in water, 4 feet deep.
Crazy.
Yep, it was awesome. That was fantastic. Awesome. And you know what I did? I ended up bringing some back, and I delivered it. I delivered it to some people that I knew. I said that I would give them some fish, and 6 of them were elders, and the look on people's face when you give them fish. And then, especially around here, give them walleye, like Levi Dabowski and Maisie. I gave them some fish, and man, it's just awesome to see.
I agree. Like we started the Harvest to Share program through Nojmotek.
Yep.
And we are now asking hunters to basically go out and harvest, and we are kind of it's like we're not paying for the animal to be harvested or anything like that, but we're taking the butcher fee and trading essentially for a portion of their harvest.
Right.
And with that harvested meat, we are able to create sort of like a wild food bank.
Yep.
And so with the wild food bank, people or community members from the 7 communities are going to be able to access that through basically like a referral or self-referral, or they just want some wild game. And we're going to be able to use that through our programming. Like we have our food forums coming up, and we made some venison meatballs with thyme, garlic, and blueberries. Or sorry, thyme and garlic, and then we're making like a blueberry reduction sauce to toss them in. So got lots of fun things.
Awesome. Yeah. Now you were doing some work in schools. What are you still doing that? You were filming, or what was going on there?
I go to all the daycares, and so we do a lot of food exposure.
Right.
So we just try different foods, and I read stories, and we talk about eating. And
do you read to little kids?
Yeah, exactly. And they just like eat some food. We try different things. We try herbs. We try
now. What's
plant
the response?
Stuff.
What I'm interested.
Lots of different responses. There's like, I usually have a rule of not being able to say gross. Like, you're not allowed to call something gross.
Right.
And they're pretty good with that. It's more of a like I'm not gonna yell at them for saying gross, but it's more of a like, try not to, right?
Yeah, because you don't want those little kids crying.
And like,
a scene.
Yeah, and or me for hurting my feelings.
Right.
But it's just to kind of get the mindset away from something being like that they're not used to. It's not necessarily gross. It's just meaning you haven't had it.
Right.
So that's with anything. Like, I'm not in there feeding them deer tongue or anything right away. Or we're eating like blueberries and stuff that they're used to, but also we're gonna try things like herbs and maybe
ease them into it.
Yeah, or
deer tongue's like class 2.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. That's like the near the end, but right before they go off to the big school, I gotta eat some deer tongue. But yeah, so we try lots of different foods, stuff that they're used to, stuff that they're not used to, and I ask them if they like it, and they tell me, and I try and convince them that they like it, even if they don't always. But we just to try and build their palate and build that ability to try stuff without being afraid of it, because that's like, it's not even really a problem for kids. It's more of a problem for adults that haven't been exposed to food are not necessarily a lost cause, but they're way more of a tough subject than a kid.
Well, we're so used to fast everything. I mean,
not even fast. It's like I like
processed.
Fast everything, processed everything, but also stuff that you've eaten forever is something that you just don't want to change, right? Like, I've been eating boneless, skinless chicken breast. Why would I eat the thighs now, right? And going to Costco and buying as much as we can, as opposed to like using an entire animal or, shanks of a deer, right?
Yeah.
People don't necessarily eat that. They just throw it and turn it into hamburger or pepperettes or whatever, right? And so even if you're harvesting your own animal, I'm not saying pepperettes or hamburger is bad, but I think that we get away from things that we're not used to or that we're not comfortable with, and we don't try and make them taste good. We just try and make it easy.
Well, that brings me to 2 points. One, when I worked up north on the coast of James Bay, I got to visit actually there. I haven't been back in 15 years. I got to go last month, but I had a friend up there, and he would always promote, he's Cree and nothing is wasted. And when we harvested moose or caribou, ducks, geese, he would, when I first saw him, as soon as he harvested a goose, he started plucking the down right away. And he took his hip waiter off, and started throwing the down feathers in his boot. And
Nice.
and he said, and I asked him what he was doing, and he actually lifted up his pant leg and he tapped his titanium leg, right? Because he was he had an amputation from the police service, and he said, I'm using the goose down because this is the only foot that gets cold, is this fake one. Nothing is wasted though, right? Tongue, heart, liver, all that, even the bag to hold all of that stuff in was used. Pike innards, cleaning out the pike innards, right? Washing them out, frying them up, just stuff you would never think of. We would never think
for
of
sure.
doing.
And I am sitting here like I'm all high and mighty and I use every part of everything, but I'm for sure like the guy. I don't eat pike innards. I should try, but I don't. I do want to start making like fish emulsion for like my garden.
Yep.
But yeah,
Like Mike's Magic Mix.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cody's. No, I'm not gonna try and come up with something right away.
Yeah, you'll get sued
you
right
got,
away.
Yeah,
but-
you got something, Jess?
No. I'm actually just curious what you guys like. What's the weirdest thing that you guys have eaten, or what you would consider you've eaten or cooked and prepared, even if it wasn't something you cooked yourself, but like what's something that's been served to you?
Weirdest.
Yeah.
The thing that I was least comfortable but most curious about, I think, was raw horse heart.
Raw horse
It's
heart.
delicious. It is easily one of the best things I've ever eaten. Yeah, if next time you have to go to Toronto, go to Black Hoof, and they cook like almost exclusively like awful like it's not awful cooking though, but so it's organ meats, charcuterie, stuff like that. But so I've had it twice. The first time I liked it a lot more. It was so raw horse heart, house-made mayo. It was served as a tartare. Pickled mushrooms, some sort of mustard, and I want to say tarragon, possibly.
Okay.
But yeah, it was insanely delicious. Like crazy lean, not a lot of like that bloody like iron flavor that you can get in some organ meats like liver, things like that, and just the smoothest texture, like better than beef tartare. It didn't even have like a chew to it. It was like this perfect texture. And then the second time was even like I was less comfortable with it. It was a squid ink aioli, horse heart, bonito flakes, which is like a shaved dried fish.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the exact things that were in it, but yeah, that was a little bit strange. It was like fishy horse heart, so it was a little bit weird.
Yeah, no, I have nothing even remotely close to that.
What were the circumstances that you were eating? Like,
I wanted to, so I think I watched Black Hoof on Vice on YouTube.
Yeah.
They had this like one of like a YouTube show that went around to different cities, and Black Hoof was one of the places, right? So and then Black Hoof was featured, and they went to a bunch of different restaurants, and so I was like, I'm gonna go to all these restaurants too. And I think I was sent by Noj to go to a conference, and I was like, well, I might as well eat while I'm here.
Yeah.
And so horse heart, and then I had what else was there? Pastrami, the tongue pastrami.
Okay.
Also amazing. Actually, I might try it with like a deer tongue.
You know what? I'm down for that. We definitely have to do deer tongue.
I've made
moose tongue.
Yeah, I've made pastrami already, so I have like the pastrami mix is not too hard. And I have an immersion circulator, so we can sous vide the pastrami and get all fancy. But it's a 7-day cure and a 2-day cook. So it's 9 days of watching pastrami, and you really want a Reuben sandwich by the time that it's done. It's like easily one of the best things that I've made. So I haven't done it with tongue yet, but yeah. So Black Hoof though, I also had jellyfish there. Have you ever had like a seaweed salad?
Yeah.
So it's like seaweed salad, sort of. It doesn't have a taste, but they mixed it with like soy sauce and sesame oil and basil. It was super good. Texture of just like noodles, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, no, I have nothing even remotely
Really
close to that. Not fishy horse heart. No.
Any weird like organ meats that you tried?
I've had heart, and I've had.
I like heart.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
But from what now maybe you can answer this. We were told that in this area not to be very wary about eating organs because of the collection of
I think like it's like
contaminants or
I mean, you could say that with fish too, right? Like you probably
true.
shouldn't eat a ton of fish.
right, especially the big ones.
Yeah. But I think again, everything in moderation, right? I mean, how many deer hearts are you going to eat?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But like I mean, and I don't know, it just
and I mean, heart I would say would be less wouldn't have as much stuff in it as a liver would, right?
right.
It's not a cleaning organ, really.
Yeah, it's not a filter.
But even still, what kind of poor diet is your deer eating that you're killing it from that your liver
True.
is so bad?
Maybe somewhere down in the States
Could
where
be.
yeah. But
Detroit deers.
Detroit walleye.
Yeah.
Right. We fished there, and
Yeah.
that was a big question for me of how many can we keep.
Yeah.
There's 10. The fishery is fantastic. Lake St. Clair, fantastic.
Yeah.
But
You ever musky fish in St. Clair?
yeah, I did an episode there with Captain
watch that
Ian
one.
Jones, and I mean the muskie are everywhere. Like they're everywhere.
I just got a sweet musky rod.
Well, okay,
We'll talk about that after.
No, let's talk about it right
Okay.
now because the musky lures that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
Now I didn't get a chance to video it.
I brought some.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I want to see them.
Okay. I brought tails too. Oh yeah, let's get them all caught up on hooks.
Yeah, let's bring them out.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly how my tackle box looks. Right there.
Beauty. It's all
Now-
a big chain of musky
Now
lures right now. It doesn't matter.
I always marvel.
This I'll bring my best ones out anyway. I brought some of the beginner ties too, just to show you how different it or how much better and worse. Yeah, let's get them all.
Oh, these are awesome.
So I think I brought my first one that I did, and it's pretty terrible. So this is the first one that I ever tied, and it was an absolute experiment. And so I tied all these skirts first. Like I didn't have the jig or anything to get everything like wound up, and I was terrible with the pliers to try and turn it myself. So this skirt looks considerably different and uneven comparatively.
Yeah, it looks like a Muppet a little bit.
Yeah, so when I first did it, I cut the tinsel separately, and that was a horrible choice. So normally, or what you should be doing is like you take like a third of the tinsel that you have, tie it, take the other third, and then you cut it at the end, and then you wrap the other ones. But this one I like cut a million separate pieces of tinsel, so it's just super.
Watch it work.
It's
the
gonna
best,
be.
though,
It's
and
gonna
you'll
be
never
the,
be
yeah,
able
it's
to
gonna be,
replicate
it's
it.
gonna be the best musky lure that I have. So this was like I was like, this is a piece of garbage, but it's okay. It looks kind of like gritty a little bit, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's caught fish already.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, this is the best one I have. And then we got into, I think this one was a little bit better. It's like the, Fire Tiger kind of double tens on there. Already got chips out of it like it got bit, but it's just me poorly managing my tackle. But yeah, you can see how chunky my ties are when they shouldn't be this big. They should be a little bit smaller than that. Like, it's not the end of the world because these were like my first ones, the ones that I did with all the flash. But yeah, I'm sure though they might catch fish. I don't know. Fish don't seem too particular.
And lures really are for us, I think.
Oh,
like
yeah.
when fish are hungry, they bite, and fishermen, we love to marvel at the awe of a lure.
So this is my favorite one. This is
Looks like a feather.
it's marabou. Yeah, so it's chicken marabou in this part. It looks kind of like you dust your light bulb.
Yeah.
Light bulbs, not light bulbs. Fixtures. And then it's orange deer hair and black deer hair. So it's in a double 10 too. This is my classiest looking one. It's very wine colored.
Yeah. That's for the elegant musky.
Yeah, exactly. It was really
This guy.
picky up. Yeah.
Now these are all dyed deer tail hair.
Yes, and those are all tails that I was given this season. So I think I got 17 total given to me. I'm sure there could have been more that weren't. But I think I am like a pioneer of a process, actually. So most of the time when you look at like YouTube tutorials for dyeing tails, it's like cook it over the stove and stir it so it doesn't get caught to the bottom, and have your whole house stink like vinegar and old, like deer tail. So first you take, like, debone it, clean it, put borax on it for a couple weeks, let it dry out, and then once it's dry, usually, so you either let it sit in the dye in a cold bath for, a day, or you cook it over the stove for 20-40 minutes. And what I saw was people like almost burning the deer hair, or it not getting the color that it should. So I know there's lots of different processes, but you can check some of these out if you want. These are just the raw ones, just white. They look just like hard deer tails.
So this is a whole tail.
Yeah.
Okay, and it shrinks down after, well,
A little bit, but it's a little crunchy right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So then what do you just cut that off, or?
Yeah. So when, so during the dyeing, I have my immersion circulator, right? I said, so it's so you take a water bath, and then you take, Ziploc bags, and I put the dye solution. So it was like, I'd say half a bottle of RIT dye, half a cup of water, and a tablespoon of vinegar. I submerged the tail into there and vacuum sealed it in the water, and then I cooked it at 90 degrees. 185 Fahrenheit. That's right. It's 185 Fahrenheit for an hour. And so black is like the hardest thing to get, but that's as black as you can get it, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, after 2 hours or after an hour, they come out like absolutely the color that you want. Like this thing is exactly like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think I might have been the first person to sous vide animal tails. So next year, I'm hoping to get some capes from like pheasants and other birds and things like that, so I can start tying flies and things.
That's intriguing. I want to be there when you're chucking those.
But yeah, you just cut this off. Like you just cut off a chunk, and then you pull out this like the shorter hairs and tie them on.
I want to see it work.
Me too. I want to see it work because I just bought a pretty sweet musky rig.
What'd you get?
I bought a 9-foot extra heavy telescopic Tackle Industries rod. So they're out of Iowa. And that was recommended from a guide who guides Lake the Woods and St. Clair, and somewhere in Kentucky too. So
super heavy tackle. Like the tackle is so big
stupid.
when you're
It's stupid. But so I got a 9-foot extra heavy rod. I have to like have it out of my rod holders are all here, and I can't put it in my basement because I gotta like pop it down, and it's 7'6", so it's like this far from the ceiling. Make sure it's not by any fans. And then I got a 13 Fishing A3 300 size with 100-pound Power
100
Pro.
pound.
100-pound Power Pro and 150-pound fluorocarbon leader. Yeah.
Yep.
So
that sounds like what
I still need a
Captain
trolling
Jones
rod.
was
I still
using.
need a trolling rod. It's ridiculous.
You know who is into it too? Ian Anderson's.
Eric. Yeah, we had some talks. He's like, he told me, he's like, I hope you go weeks without catching one. He's like, you gotta put in your time. And I'm like, man, I go out and don't catch fish all the time. I've put in so much time.
But you add the time of making lures on top of that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Oh yeah.
But they have a 2-man system, and I've seen that 2-man system work. You know, the one big jigger on the bottom, and the other guy trying to bring him in.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are scary fish. Now, You're going fishing not for musky, but for snook.
Yeah, maybe some tarpon and maybe some sea trout, and then whatever. Like if I can pull in a jackfish or something, or a jack from like the middle of the ocean. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going like out into the ocean. It's just all inshore and in the mangroves. So
now snook is for those of you that don't know, snook is like a cross between a bass and a walleye. Is the way it looks. I did a charter.
It's like a snoutier bass.
Yeah, but they're a torpedo-y like fish.
They jump like crazy.
Power.
Yeah.
I went out with Captain Phil Ruffini on the Gulf side in Florida, and we were fishing Venice, Florida. So all of the little canals in there and where all the people live, we fish at night. So you're pitching under docks and you know what I mean? At the lights, you'll see them swim by the light. Tons of fun. But the first snook I caught was we were pitching onto the beaches, and it was a 45-minute fight, and Phil figured, because we didn't weigh it, but it was 43 inches.
What? Yeah.
And I didn't realize it, but I'll show you the video.
That's
because
crazy.
when he goes to scoop it, you're like, that net is not big enough for that fish.
The musky net.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. I honestly thought it was one of the dolphins that we saw porpoising in the bay that I hooked onto, because it literally took our boat, because he had just a little 17, and it just we never saw it for 45 minutes, just on the bottom, right? And then it came up and it was gassed, and it hooked the outside of the net. So just one last little kick, and it would have been gone. He pulled it in, lifted it up, put it back in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, one of the biggest snook he's caught, oversized snook and he's a snook charter. Yeah, I didn't know what I had. I mean, I asked him to equate it with something up here, because I took him on a salmon charter. He's like, okay, think of going out into Prov. Someone's never caught a salmon before, and they catch a 40-pounder out of Prov. I'm like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, well, they're like, I really wanted to go tarpon fishing, but apparently they migrate out in January and February.
Yeah.
And come back, or January, February, and March, and come back in April into the Rhea, like the little lake area. And so I was pretty bummed, because tarpon's like musky fishing basically. But
those tarpon tournaments, like when the sharks are there and the boats are in there, I'd love to see that.
You're just chucking it and your tarpon comes up and then it's smoked by a shark. And then you're just
and it's violent. The boats, Jesse, you ever seen this? The boats, like, they go after those sharks. Like, they're, the boats are all jockeying for position, trying to hit the shark, it looks like it.
Yeah, and like right in front of bridges and like crazy currents and just backing out. And I'm like, man, this is too intense.
It's intense, but big money too, right?
Absolutely. Dude. Like I'm not even chartering because I'm cheap.
Yeah.
Basically, so I'm trying to get some stuff offshore, or find a nice Yucatan friend to help me out. We'll see. But I'm sure I'll get into something. I'm bringing a few different baits with me. We'll figure it out. I'll catch something from
and
Florida.
You know what?
Those
local guys know better anyway,
Absolutely.
Right? Like, just
how
do we catch these?
I know that there's mangroves close by, and I know that they love hanging out underneath trees and stuff. So I'm gonna go try and find them there. Hopefully, I don't get eaten by.
Now, when are you going down?
Next week. Or we leave Monday to go to Toronto, and then fly out Tuesday morning, and then we're there till almost 2 weeks from there.
Awesome. That sounds like a ton of fun. And fishing away is always a ton of fun anyway. It's something new, right?
Yeah, and we're not staying on resort or anything, so we're staying in a little like village. So we're staying in Chilem, and it's with my girlfriend's parents. So we just got a little casa to stay in.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna fish and
chill
out.
Awesome.
Drink some Modelo Especial.
Good stuff. That's awesome stuff. Now, I don't know if you've heard. I want to talk a little bit about food sovereignty, but I want to lead into. Have you talked to, or have you seen any of the writing or articles on Jeremy St. Onge?
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, my girlfriend is friends with Delphine. So Kate and Kendra are friends, and Kendra went over to meet Del, and that's how they ended up. And my girlfriend works at the Expositor, so Kendra told Warren, who's doing the story on Dell and Jeremy, and that's how that got started. So
Now I'm following him on Facebook.
very connected to that.
That intrigues the hell out of me.
Me too, but I don't think I am. I couldn't cut it. I feel like if I had to, I could. But like, firstly, I love fat, and if I could only use bear fat, and like, I don't know, man.
Can you guys
I would have to. There would have to be lots of bears that I would have had to harvest because I love to eat fat, and it like. I don't know. I don't know if I could hack it. Maybe if I broke open a bunch of moose bones.
Now, can you, Jess?
First of all, I was gonna say, can you guys explain what you're talking about first for those who aren't listening?
What is it called? The
Big Wild Year.
The Big Wild Year. So, two people from North Bay, Delphine and Jeremy, are spending a year eating foods that they've harvested themselves. Only foods that they've harvested. So that includes salt, fat, any protein, vegetable, anything that they've had that's all they're eating. So like they caught perch and they're eating perch roe, and they said it was like one of the best things that they've eaten so far and stuff like that. So they're eating only wild foods, and like I have an appreciation for wild foods, but I also have an appreciation for cheeseburgers
and bacon, cheeseburgers.
For sure.
Well, and you look at what they're, if you follow them on any of their social media, it's every day. They're telling you what they're eating every day.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you'd have to document that if you're gonna go through the trouble of harvesting your own salt. Like I would have had to harvest a mine. I love salt, and people are like, you shouldn't eat that much salt. And I'm like, yeah, my heart will pay for it later, but I don't care because it tastes delicious. I need it. I need salt.
Well, and they have kids, but the kids aren't doing it. So think how hard that is.
Yeah, you got to cook two meals.
You're cooking separate.
Well, right? And not even cooking separate. You're watching other people eat foods that you can't eat.
Just piling on ketchup.
Yeah.
Oh, I need more gravy.
How many tomatoes do I have to stew this summer, so I can get enough ketchup? Like, man, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did they harvest vinegar mothers so that they could make vinegar out of stuff?
Like they've got dandelions. They've got everything.
I know.
Everything.
It's just.
I'd love to see the pantry.
Yeah. My thing is like, because I'm such a method guy when it comes to cooking, that I would run out of some ingredient that I need and I would go insane. Like I would go crazy. I'd be like, I can't wait 6 weeks for vinegar to be ready so I can make a gastrique. I'd go mental. Like it would just not be. It would not. I can't handle it. Like my head is geared. No. And I'm getting upset and like anxious about the prospect of not being able to have something, and I'm horrible for that. But yeah,
right. That my hat goes off to them because
absolutely.
That's a noble plight to try and do that
for sure.
I would like to see. I wonder if they did, or maybe you know this. Did they do any testing, blood work?
I think they did.
They must have.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
because
I think they got I think they got their before kind of everything. So they got their blood work and their probably their
just like Supersize Me did.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean,
opposite.
if you're gonna do it, you might as well
document.
You got to get everything.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think that like you'd be crazy not to if you have to do all that, right? I think they're already noticing a change from what I've heard anyway.
Well, yeah.
Are they blogging it or what did they?
I don't know if they're blogging.
Well,
it.
but did you say vlogging or blogging?
Either.
I think they're definitely they're posting about it.
Yeah,
anyway,
social media for sure. It's all over their Facebook. I know that because I see it, and I think it's Instagram as well.
Yeah,
they put it on there.
Do they have like a special page or like what's it called? What's it called?
Big Wild Year. Yeah.
And I thought it was something really interesting, and we're hoping to have them actually on the podcast as well to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, they've garnered a lot of attention in a very short period of time. But I mean, like, that's a crazy undertaking. Imagine, like, I can't imagine being like, I'm going on a 4-hour car ride and like I gotta bring whatever I have with me so that I can eat that. I can't stop for coffee. Like, coffee.
You can't stop for coffee.
No.
Well, that would be it.
I mean, not that I like Tim Hortons coffee or anything anyway. But
I'm out.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. Out of coffee, yeah.
I mean, you need to have coffee.
Beer.
I need to have coffee.
I like to have a beer. I like to have a beer too.
Well,
I mean, I guess you could.
But I think it's a different. I think
Yeah.
you know the caffeine addiction and the alcohol addiction is obviously way different.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
you know the grouchiness that comes right away with not having coffee.
Yeah, I've become way worse with caffeine lately. Like I'm a fiend now.
Really, like more than 2 cups a day.
Not necessarily. Like it depends. Like I guess I'm not like a pot a day, kind of a pot in the morning before I go, but I do like to have 2 cups before I go to work.
Right.
Like I like to get up, make the coffee immediately. That's before I do anything else, before the cat even gets food.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, coffee needs to be on, and we grind our own beans and everything. Like it gets done, and we make nice coffee, a little cinnamon, you know.
Yeah.
And like I always have at least 1 cup before I go to work, and I feel like it's like an
I
empty,
do. I like
it's
to
an
have-
empty day without.
I like to
it.
have 2 cups. I don't know about you, Jess.
Dude, I'm a 4-cupper.
Oh, that's a
That's
lot.
gnarly.
I'm
Yeah.
a 4-cupper.
If I go ice fishing, I'm like I'm bringing a pot of coffee with me.
Well, and you know what I did do though, and Jess, you know, when we kind of went on a little bit of a paleo thing last year, and Diane and I did it as well. And one of the things though that I was my cheat was I wanted to have a little bit of cream in my coffee, no sugar.
Yeah.
And you know we came back off the paleo a little bit. You know, I felt I lost too much weight. I lost 30 pounds. And, you know, although I felt good, I
found your 30 pounds. So.
Did you find it? Yeah, I was hiding under the rock.
I got it.
But you know what we didn't do is I didn't add any more sugar.
Yeah.
Right. And that in itself was a good add.
We did
or a good
keto
deletion.
for a month and a half, and like everything, I get a little obsessive, and so I got way too intense into it, and we were eating, I don't know, I think I was eating, it was like 80% fat, like I was eating like under 20 carbs a day.
Really?
Yeah, I was gnarly. And like I got 11 pounds in a month.
Yeah.
But like it's just unhappy.
Miserable.
Yeah, I mean you can eat all the fat you want or whatever, but like it's hard to get enough fiber and then enough water at the same time. Like I drank like 3-4 liters of water a day, and you're still feeling thirsty.
Right.
It was gnarly.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. Like I like trying stuff like that, but I think I could do like a modified.
Yeah, that's kind of what I
Yeah.
like, the paleo almost. I know we tried that.
I feel like you gotta go off
At
the
first,
deep end
though,
at first.
we were pretty hardcore at first, and
yeah.
then you know, then there were some of the things where it was like, okay, this is.
We go away or something like that, and you just like want to. Yeah.
But like things like the breads and all of the other like heavy carbs where you're just
Yeah.
pounding back carbs for no reason,
yeah,
and then
you're not
hungry
full.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I mean,
right away you're hungry.
know.
Like in 6 hours, you
You're
want
like,
breakfast.
cool. I ate a whole loaf of garlic bread, and I want like a couple more loaves. That'd be great.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like just totally empty for sure.
So you know that part.
I'm getting hungry right now.
Actually, I was thinking the same thing. Just talking about.
Yeah. We should have just sawed open a venison bone and just had some marrow out
Hey,
of toast.
speaking of, I wanted to ask you this. You know, you were mentioning bear fat.
Yeah.
Now, how long can bear fat stay good in the freezer for?
In the freezer?
Yeah.
I would say relatively indefinitely.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's like packed away well and isn't going to get like rancid or freezer burnt or whatever like that. But I wouldn't like if it's in
What do you cook
freezers.
it? What do you use to cook?
Depends on it depends on what your bear ate.
Yeah.
So that's going to depend heavily on what the fat tastes like. If you had like a dump bear or something like that, it's going to taste like garbage. But if you had like a blueberry bear, it's going to taste like the fat will be good.
Right.
And I mean, you kind of have to see, like, you could
I've got
render.
some. You should try. You should take some.
Okay.
And
like
see what it's like.
Like, could render it down and use it as like cooking oil.
Yeah.
Like just how you like. Is it real? Is it white fat? Like heavy? Yeah. Yeah. You could just render it down and
See what it's like.
see what it's like. Yeah. Or you could cube it up, put it in some sausages.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's something.
I really want to, like, I wish I had a curing chamber to make like cured meats and stuff
Right.
like that, because it'd be sweet to have some like bear sausage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think there's recipes in Meat Eater actually for that.
For bear sausage.
Yeah.
And that's we have a bunch of bear sausage, and that was the thing that I liked from, other than the roast. No, I wouldn't say the most, but I like that sausage. Sausage and eggs. That fried bear sausage and eggs is.
Yeah, and I think that like with bear, because of like the trichinella or like trichinosis worry and stuff, you got to cook everything well done. So it's like you don't want to eat a ton of meat well done. It doesn't taste as good, right? But if you can find like braised parts to do with that, and then like if you had like a nice fatty bear shoulder, that'd be good. Like braised up and some, or like a bear shoulder chili with like pulled meat.
Well, we did.
Good.
I said that to Jess and his dad Chuck. They came over and we had pulled bear in the
pulled bear tacos would be good.
Pulled bear sandwiches.
So good.
They were. It was just.
Did you do it with like barbecue sauce?
Yeah.
What did you make?
Slow cooker.
Did you make a blueberry barbecue sauce? Why not?
No, because I didn't know.
Get on that.
First try.
See, you gotta match your meats with things that they will find in the wild.
Right.
So
and
you're gonna find ground anything with like sorrels, like thyme, juniper, blueberries, stuff like that are around here. Things that they'd eat. Same with like I love game animal and berries.
Ah, damn it! I'm getting hungry. You're right. I'm just thinking about
Yeah, we
it.
should have like a little like a little grill, make some little skewers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna add that in, Josh.
Yeah, you get a hood vent up here. Yeah,
Just a
we'll
little
just have like a little Cody cooking area.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
We could do that. That'd be easy. Yeah. Let's a little propane stove.
Coleman grill. Yeah.
Someone said.
Get Coleman on the phone.
See if they'll sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing I'm really interested in, this is an important thing to me. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I went up north, and I went this past fall. I went to a couple of flying communities, and not that I haven't been to any, and I lived in one for a long time, but in one of the communities, it got to me.
Did you go to the northern store?
They didn't have one.
There's nothing.
There was no food.
It's crazy.
So you got your wallet with you, and there's nothing. I got credit, I got debit. Well,
bring me something.
Bring me something, right? They left our luggage at the airport, so even this stuff. And I know I pack food when I go to these communities, just because you never know. Yeah. But the baggage didn't come.
Yeah.
And so there I am,
stranded with no food.
And no food, right? And not that there was, you ran out of. There was nothing to eat.
Yeah. Right.
And it felt like if there was something to eat, now food was coming, but it was just one of those things that I couldn't stop thinking about.
Yeah.
And we talked about some pitches to CBC for a short called Harvest, or to APTN. The Running on Empty, I made a pitch. We have a short for that. Hopefully we can start filming that at some point in the not too distant future, about food sovereignty and about the absence of nutrition and the absence of food in our everywhere, but especially in our First Nations communities, because that's where we work and that's where we live. Right? Where are you in all of that?
Yeah, I mean, even as should we tell like what food sovereignty is like? So it's the right to have access and, more importantly, choice over your diet. So with Indigenous communities, we're talking about having access and choice and the right to harvest foods indigenous to us. So our game meats, fish, berries, things that would grow in the area. In some cases, corn and beans and things like that in more agriculturally what's the word, prosperous areas or whatever. But yeah, having access to food is like a big thing, right? Like we talk about clean water and stuff like that too, and some communities don't have food or clean water or access to food. So
no running water, or you can't drink the water, and the communities, that I've been in and have lived in, and you couldn't have that. Just having water.
And I think that it's taken for granted a lot of the times, and I think that even within our communities here, where we're not necessarily super far away from grocery stores, but a lot of people haven't eaten their indigenous foods in a long time. I was in Shishiguaning, and it was a catered lunch, I think it was a catered lunch, and one of the caterers had made chili, and I was like, "Is this venison chili?" Because it was just after like fall harvest, right? And she's like, "I wish." She's like, "I haven't had venison in years." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, you live on the west end.
There's no one to hunt here for you. Like, is there, like, have you asked or anything? Maybe you're just not connected. Like, please, can we get you connected? Something like, and so again, with the indigenous food bank that we're trying to get, is that so people can have access to that, and you don't have to be afraid to go and ask somebody down the road, or and not that you should be afraid, but like, something, you don't want to inconvenience somebody else, or maybe you don't have the knowledge or the equipment to go hunting. It's not like it's a cheap thing to do, right? Or maybe you're not educated into doing that, and hunting can be a barrier, fishing can be a barrier.
Absolutely.
So even for communities that may have access to other foods, maybe they don't have access to the foods that they want. So, and that's huge.
And I think you're right, we take it for granted a little bit. The convenience of the grocery store, in the north, there is no other way to get vegetables there. Like, there isn't. And now there's food subsidies. Granted, I'll give them that.
The food subsidies go to the things that stay the longest, though. So the stuff that's not nutritionally relevant anyway.
Yeah, but when I was there, 20 years ago, you couldn't get strawberries. Yeah. You couldn't get lettuce. You couldn't get, and anything you got was half rotten and 6 times the price. Yeah. Now there are, I don't know what it is, the nutrition subsidies.
The nutritious food basket.
Yeah. You know what they did have, and this was amazing, when I was in Fort Albany 2-3 weeks ago, they had a farmer's market at the school. And so you could order, and in the gym, there were baskets and baskets of fresh produce, vegetables, fruits, flown up specifically for that. People could order it, and it wasn't astronomically priced.
That's good.
Which is such a breath of fresh air.
And it sucks that it isn't in every community.
It needs to be in every community.
Including here.
Absolutely.
I know that Shishiguaning, it was one of our dietitians, I think, piloted it, where they basically got food at cost to go up and have like a small market of things, so that's like a mini grocery store, because the grocery store is 40 minutes away from them, so it comes in at cost, so it's not, again, astronomically priced, and isn't sitting on a shelf for in crazy amount of time, or not any good anymore. But I was speaking of flying things in, I was at the Food Secure Canada conference in Montreal this year, and we got talking before the conference, and one of the presenters there was from north of Iqaluit, like super north, like basically North Pole. Like, this was in November, and they were like, she's like, "Oh yeah, my snowmobile's getting up and running this week," and I was like, "What?" Like, she's like, "Oh yeah, we've had snow for weeks now." I'm like, that's crazy to me, and so she was saying that, because I guess the flights are timed in which they go up after the ice road, or before the ice roads open, and things like that. But she flew in, and that flight was going out, and she was looking at what was on the grocery list, basically, of what was being flown up there, fruits, vegetables, and guess what it was?
Pepsi.
Just pop. A whole flight full of pop.
We got off a charter, and it was like, 3,400 pounds. What was that? I unloaded case after case of Pepsi.
Yep, that's it. It was just pop. My mind was blown. Like, there wasn't a broccoli tucked in the corner.
I don't know why it was blown, but mine was too.
Not only that, it's not like it's cheap.
It's
It's
heavy.
still
You're paying
expensive.
max.
Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy.
Yeah. No, that the right to have access to food in Canada. People need to know that. People need to know that doesn't exist for everybody.
No, and I think that along with access to the food, I think access to the information to be able to share that between your community and your friends and family, to, you know, for people to be able to gain the knowledge to be able to collect those foods however they may be, and try and break some of those barriers to like I just learned to net fish this year. I had never even seen it done, right? I didn't grow up with the culture. Like I've been more exposed to the culture now since I started at Noge than beforehand. My grandparents were, I don't know where I'm stepping, but they weren't allowed to be on the reserve together. My grandfather was white and my grandmother was native, or is native. And so they lived in Little Current, and my grandmother never taught my mom or her siblings the language or anything like that, right? And I don't know if there was a shame element or anything like that.
It just didn't
never
happen.
asked. It just didn't happen. And so we were still exposed to certain aspects, and my grandmother still spoke it, but we just didn't know what she was saying.
Usually when she was giving you
yeah,
shit.
exactly. So I didn't really know a lot of the practices or anything like that when I was young, and I was kind of like only more exposed to it now. And so I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Well,
the like practices and things like that, right? Netting fish, and stuff that I'm super interested in now. I've only just learned, so
Right.
it's like a total learning experience for me. Even, and I'm not the Indigenous food coordinator, but I'm trying to get in on all of these things so that people can teach me all this stuff, so I can carry it with me.
Well, and we have it. You know, I thought what we did, the video component to the Wild Game Kitchen, where I think of how many deer I've harvested and moose I've harvested, and didn't use that marrow.
Yeah.
Right. And didn't use, you know, that kind of, you reflect back, and those are things
I wish I know.
I wish I knew. Right.
Yeah.
Or when I hear someone say, well, I don't have any fish, I don't have a boat.
Yeah.
I've caught more fish, more walleye, more rainbow from shore, right?
Yeah.
This in the last few years than I've ever caught.
Yeah.
You know, and we just need to remember or be retaught how to do that.
Yep.
And go from there, because it does take, you know, a little bit of effort to go and do that. Get up and get off the couch and you know, like our motto says, get outdoors and reconnect.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty terrible fisherman, but it's probably my favorite thing to do. And I don't mind that I suck at it.
Yeah.
It's fun. I get to make lures. I get to learn about fish, like fish
The technique,
habits and things like that. Yeah, and like just when like spawn versus post spawn versus when it gets really hot
and
things
you can
like that.
you can get into fishing fanatics. I've got a good
It's
friend,
crazy.
Sean Leduc, who is maniacal when it comes to fishing.
Yeah.
Like he drives from Sudbury to check which way the current is flowing at Swift Current, and then and this is after his night shift.
Yeah.
And then be like, it's the wrong way. I'm gonna go home and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like he just intake of information. I love that.
I'm like
I love
the guy
that
who
learning.
fishes through those things. I'm like current's wrong. I'm like, wind's blowing from me. He's probably not going to catch anything. Might as well try.
I might as well spend 6 hours.
Yeah. It's like, oh, cool. Pulled up a few big gobies today. But yeah, I don't know. It's way more about me getting out, finding my zen, and just I can just cast for like a couple hours, not care about anything.
Well,
else.
you're
It's
gonna,
great.
you know, you might.
Yeah, I
find
know.
that true.
Yeah, I'm gonna really not care about stuff after I cast for 4 hours. for
One of my
musky.
favorite quotes though is Hemingway's quote. You know, a man can fish his entire life and not really know that it's not the fish he's after, and that's important.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
you know, there's a reality there. I love being on the water. I charter every day. We're gone for 10 hours a day on the water. Sometimes I sleep on the water and get up and fish in the morning. Those are my most favorite days of the summer.
Well, we bought our first boat this year. Like I hated fishing when I was a kid because I was like not forced to do it, but it was like, oh, yeah, wake up at 6 a.m. and like go out and pretend that I'm enjoying being in this small 14-foot aluminum, going the same places that we went last time, didn't catch anything, and I hated it. And I didn't hate hunting, but like, you know, like when I'm just an impatient person, and I was definitely an impatient kid, and I didn't understand the you know, turn off your brain and kind of like just be in the moment. And I was like, when is a bird gonna come out? Like, please. The only reason I ever shot my first deer is because I was bored as hell. I was sitting in my tree stand. I was like, I'm cold. My feet are getting cold. This is stupid. Like, I'll just walk around the bush for a bit before lunch, and I was gonna go eat a bacon sandwich. And so I got out of my stand and I walked 40 feet from it, and 5-point spike horn just walks out, and he's like, stares at me, and I'm like, bring it up. Like, I'm from me to Jess away.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of me. Walked right out. And then I got him good. He went down instantly. Well, I mean, the exit wound in his neck was like this big, so he wasn't breathing very long. It was swift and hopefully relatively painless. But yeah, that's the only reason I ever got a deer. And again, like, back then we were always taught about hunting and, you know, respecting animals and stuff, but as a kid, I don't think I did enough, and I was like, oh man, I gotta gut this thing, and I was like, this is cool, but like, it's gross. I'm like, oh, warm, like, and then like being forced to eat the heart, right, as like an initiation kind of thing, when it's delicious. But I mean, I cooked it poorly, I assume, because they made me cook it and eat it. But yeah, wish I would have known about salt and fat at that point.
Well, you know, I think of the cleaning part. Now, Jess and I both, you know, and you'd be in the same boat, I think. We have science background, so, and, you know, zoology and all of that stuff is very interesting to us. And my kids love it. The kids love, and we do it at the school for fall harvest.
Yeah.
You know, we catch a bunch of fish and we bring it. I clean it in front of all the kids. They love to see that. I mean, it's just, science is so interesting, even to little ones, if they can touch and be involved in it, right? And
I did the same thing with pike. So we went up to the UCCM moose hunt.
Yep.
And we made moose stew for everybody with previously harvested moose, so that they'd at least get to try some if we didn't get into any. But I didn't hunt while they were there. There's a lot of people hunting, and I didn't want to step on any toes, so I went fishing while they hunted in late October, and it was cold that morning.
For specs, or
no, it was we tried to go for walleye, but we were on the small lake, so it was just filled with pike. I could have just thrown a bear hook. Pike would have probably attacked it. It was crazy. It was me, Matt, Miracle, and Courtney, and one of the clients from Goquadzwin.
Okay.
So we went fishing, 2 canoes, and I was like trolling, right? So I like rod in between the legs, just hammering on it, just trying to get these pike to bite. I actually threw a bucktail in, and like we got into 5 or 6 like medium-sized pike, and then we brought them all back because we wanted to show like we can harvest for everybody. Where's your moose, right? And so we showed the kids how to like clean pike, right? Take the Y bone out and things like that.
Nice.
So adults learned some stuff too, because a lot of people just go right through the back and then try and find the Y bone and try and like peel it out of there and stuff like that, and you end up with weird snaky strips of fish.
Now, that's a great story, and who doesn't love fresh fish, right? Especially when it's cleaned properly and without the bones. If I asked you what is one of your favorite recipes for wild game, off the top of your head, what game would it be, and how would you prepare it?
Oh man, that's a tough call. I really like those venison meatballs that I made last week. We were really eating those.
Now, is that because it's recent?
It might be recency bias. Honestly, I feel like I'm one of those people who's just getting back into wild game because I hated it as a kid. Right? You're like,
it wasn't prepared well.
We didn't have tons of money, so it was like
overcooked,
you're eating venison. Yeah, you're eating like overcooked venison, or it's like venison burger, or venison burgers in something, and you're like, I'm sick of venison. And again, like, yeah, it wasn't cooked like how I would cook it now. So there's a lot of recipes I want to try that I think I could adequately substitute things, and I want to do some things that are sort of unconventional. Like I want to take a whole leg of deer, hoof on, and like roast it over a spit with like tons of salt and pepper over a fire, and just get it like to like pulled venison texture, and just like cut it off, or not quite that, but like
shave it off.
Yeah, like coated in like rosemary and thyme and mustard, and like beautifully roasted, like a leg of lamb sort of would be.
I don't know, Jess, that almost sounds like an episode in itself.
Yeah, like there's a million deer and lamb taste relatively similar, right? Depending on what it was eating, right? Yeah. The cedary old deer that I'm used to anyway. And like moose, you could substitute that for any like red meat because it's so lean and delicious,
right?
And like, yeah, I feel like I could keep up with Steve Rinella.
Well, that's a tall
whatever, he's got more experience, but I feel like I got a leg up on the culinary knowledge.
Well, and we got to start somewhere, right? And we've got a couple of interesting things coming in. I definitely want to be...
Oh, actually, have you... Sorry.
That's right.
Have you eaten... what are those? Sandhill crane.
No, the ribeye of the sky.
Yeah, that's like all I want to eat now. I was like, watch that episode. I was like, can I eat that right now? Like, can I go get a sandhill crane that's squawking in the backyard, kind of like?
Well, I had two in front of my deer stand that were like 10 feet. I was so tempted to try that ribeye in the sky. Yeah. So there's a couple of bucket list things that I want to do, or I want to talk about right before we close, because I want to be in on it. I want to be in on this, and I think we need to
throw some things at muskies.
We need to throw some things at muskies.
Yeah, I got a few good spots where I've sighted them. I just couldn't catch them.
Well, we can.
I'm sure you got some more sites.
We can check some. We can check some spots.
Yeah, okay,
for sure. So I want in on that, and I know Jess wants in on the deer roasting leg glazed
for sure.
That's something that I think we could be a part of and help out. And
deer leg porchetta would be probably good too.
Ooh,
or bear porchetta.
I'm starving already.
I don't even know. Like you gotta, I don't know, something with a nice skin though would be hard. But I don't know. There's so many things that I want to try.
I'm gonna hook you up with Seventh Fire. I don't know if you know who that is. No. Chef Wesley from Six Nations.
Okay.
You can check him out on Instagram. Okay. He's cooking with sweetgrass. Yeah. He's cooking with. This is just a phenomenal piece that he's doing. Red Chef Revival is something that I think we should talk a little bit more about. It's a new program coming out on I think it's Netflix, but there's some good indigenous recipes coming out of there. Very interesting stuff, and we're gonna see a little bit of you on Fuel the Fire TV. That's coming in season 3.
Yeah, hopefully I'm all prettied up for that.
Well,
we didn't have the makeup.
We didn't have the makeup crew,
anything,
but our fans are pretty forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, they look at you makeup. And
what are you gonna do? How can you improve on that? Is what they say. But no, I'm excited to fish. I'm excited to harvest and get you out in the field. I think that's something that we could expand on a little bit more. Anything else you want to plug before we sign off?
I don't think so. I did make a cookbook for my
Shut up. Did you?
Yeah. I don't know how it's gonna, like, it's a little sporadic. It was a little like I don't want to say forced. I mean, there was some recipes that I was like, I really need to get them in, and they don't have pictures, But it's for Nojmo. It's for
Nice.
people to like just to cook some of the stuff.
Now,
that I cook.
where can you get that?
Come to my workshops. You have to.
When's that? What's your next one?
Ooh, next one's like daycare tomorrow, but
Well, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're gonna come to the daycare tomorrow. I'm trying to think. I'll probably have them for the food forum in Chigang.
Okay, and that's in March.
Yes.
When do you post? Where do you post all of this stuff?
They'll be on the Nojmo website, so it'll be a PDF. There'll definitely be that.
Do you post any on your Instagram?
I don't know if I'm going to post it on my personal Instagram.
Good. And Noj doesn't have an Instagram.
No, they don't. We do have the Manitoulin Community Fresh Food Initiative Facebook page.
Okay.
And the Indigenous food sovereignty stuff is posted in that as well, or do they have their own separate one?
No, I
feel
think
like
that's in there.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, it's in there, so they can check that and get any updates there.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to pass any of that stuff through us, we can post that on our Instagram or on our Facebook,
For sure.
Which is just Fuel the Fire TV.
I follow it.
Yeah, you know what? And hopefully we can get a little bit more of a community around the consumption end of it and the preparing of food end, because the Wild Game Kitchen is where it's at.
And I think that like getting people to be comfortable with cooking wild game, I think if you can if you can make beef taste good and you can make other proteins taste good, you can make venison and other games or other meats that you might not be comfortable with initially taste good though. They're not worlds apart. One isn't from Mars.
And having that, making the connection and developing a relationship with your food in terms of harvest, in terms of chasing game, in terms of conserving, and making efforts to conserve.
Yep.
Whether it's fish or the Deer Safe program, it helps round us out. It makes us better people. It balances us a little bit more, and ultimately it makes us more healthy. And that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate the talk.
Thanks for having me.
It's always good to chat.
Yeah, I almost forgot that there was a Leafs game on. So.
I know. So we got to check the score.
Yeah, it's 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, for us. Yeah.
Perfect.
For the
That's
good
good
guys.
news for the good guys.
Yeah.
Remember, folks, to fuel your passion and fuel the fire, you got to get outdoors. We'll see you next time.